戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is March 30th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 927. And today, Ballroom Bunker Blitz. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films and author of Archetypalism, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
And my Canary Cry calendar is telling me it is Klaus Schwab's birthday.
We
Wow.
need a great reset.
Learn to use the dark side of the force.
Oh, that's the whole jingle there. But yes, Klaus.
And I'm back. I had to come back for Klaus Schwab's birthday. I could not let you or him celebrate alone. That would just be so sad.
Yeah, it's his 88th birthday.
Whoa.
Maybe he'll time travel back to 1947.
Still kicking. Almost 90 years old, that guy, and still trying to rule the world. It's very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Speaking of still kicking, I am back. Here I am. Thank you, everybody, for the well wishes and the prayers and the messages and everything. Gonz, good job keeping the show going. The foot is still bad, but I do have a big boot on now, which helps a lot. I'm able to sit in a chair without sort of searing, throbbing pain. It was a really weird one. I stumped all the medical professionals because it is not broken, and there's a conspicuous lack of bruising. However, it is at least an extreme sprain. And I was out on the town over the weekend for medical procedures and other errands, hobbling around, got the boot, got the crutch, and goodness gracious, having some sort of injury like this really is an invitation to pretty much anybody you come in contact with who just have something to say, man. Having walking around with a boot and a crutch really makes you quite popular, apparently. But it was a little difficult because, of course, the inevitable question comes out, what happened? How'd you do it? And it's a really difficult conversation to have when the answer is, I was racing around with a baby emu. Like, it just turns into such a long conversation because they're expecting, oh, it was an accident or snowboarding or riding a motorcycle. Like, there's pretty standard ways people hurt their
Playing
foot.
a
Like,
little hoop,
yeah.
somebody crossed you over, you get the ankles broken. Yeah.
So
Not so.
I had to start every conversation. I learned this pretty quick. I had to start every conversation with, "You're not going to believe it when I tell you," which is like cute. And sometimes people will be like, "Yeah, okay," and just like walk away. But then other people force me to answer. And it's like, well, I was running from a baby emu, which spirals into so many other questions. But people are really, impressed with the thing, made some friends, learned about other people's injuries, which with much less interesting stories behind it. But I am here to stay. You can't get rid of me, Emu Mafia. Baby Emu's getting humongous, man. He's about a month old and about 1.5 feet tall. He's a crazy little guy.
So you sprained your ankle, but it made it sound like you stepped on a thorn or something.
Yeah, so I think that's what happened. So I was in some really old Crocs, and that's not good running material.
Yeah.
It's not good to run in Crocs. Definitely not good to run in Crocs when you don't have them in sport mode. And then also when they're your ranch Crocs and the soles are like a centimeter thick, you step on one tiny stick that threatens to stab into your foot. It's just like I was just jogging with the emu out for his daily jog, and I stepped on a sharp stick which punctured right through the Croc. And I think it was a mixture between like my instincts to avoid getting stabbed, mixed with the momentum, mixed with the lack of support. It was really the least exciting, accident anybody's ever had. And luckily, it's not broken. And I knew that right away because I was kind of able to walk the rest of the day. But then wake next day, it was just like total disaster. Couldn't move a muscle. But took it easy, iced it all the time, had it up in the air, winced in pain every chance that I got. I got some messages from people concerning like, hey, don't not go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And I never thought of myself as like a not go to the doctor guy, like, I don't need the doctor. I'll just bite a stick or something, read some dirt. I never considered myself that kind of person, but I was reminded of the time in 2023 when my appendix burst and I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. And it got really bad, specifically because I was like, oh, it's not important. I'm just really gassy. It's fine. I'll just do some.
We tend to do that. I did the same thing when I broke my hand, the fourth metacarpal. I broke it playing basketball. And I was like, it's fine. And a week later, I'm trying to vacuum. Like, my hand, I can't grip anything. And then I got the x-ray and just a split right down that metacarpal, just right in half. So
yeah, I mean, once you get into your 30s, like you kind of get these little injuries here or there, and they tend to just kind of go away. And going to the doctor just gets too much, just gets too involved, the financial aspect, the time aspect, and they're trying to give you drugs that you don't need, this whole thing. Just a pain in the butt. Usually they go away. This one happens to also be going away. It just needed a little bit more support.
Well, I think we should take advantage of the American healthcare system while we can, Basil, because there was news that they're going to shut down or pull back some funds for American healthcare to support the Iran war. That's right.
Oh no!
All that money is going to the Iran war. So
they're not giving it to the insurance companies, the Obamacare insurance scam.
No, they need more soldiers over there. They're sending more, and I'm waiting for the robots. People are saying, "Hey, send the robots." But I realized last episode that we send our robots, we're going to have robots coming back with PTSD, and that might be an even worse situation than just, people with PTSD. So
yeah, there was this whole series of the news cycle last week about Anthropic and how Anthropic was talking about how, their AI just naturally, it's like a naturally emerging phenomenon that it develops a personality and that it has feelings and that it's, it just kind of happens. So yeah, if our AI are at least sort of developing emotion-like responses, sending these robots to war might not be the best thing to do.
No.
Yeah. So, anyways, back in the chair. Happy to be here. That's that. And thank you, everybody,
Okay.
for our wishes.
All right. We got Klaus out of the way. We got your foot out of the way. The red carpet is rolled out for our vice president talking about UFOs and aliens.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
That's right. This is true.
We're made by the aliens.
Alex Jones thinks we're made by the aliens. TheHill.com. Vance, our vice president, JD Vance, says he's obsessed with UFO files, calls aliens demons.
Woo.
Debate continues. It is at the highest echelon of our government now, Basil. We got the Iran war. We got the economy's not looking so hot. Gas prices, barrel is going to hit $200 anytime now. But we're talking about aliens. Vice President Vance revealed in a new interview that he is obsessed with unidentified flying objects or UFOs, vowing to get to the bottom of the mystery before leaving office. A lot of mystery this episode. There's all kinds of mysteries. Quote, trust me, anybody who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody. Let me just play the clip. I have the 2-minute clip here. I think it was on with Benny Johnson. Couple minutes of JD Vance here discussing his views. And then we'll talk about the way the internet reacted to his claim here.
You're going to release all the UFO files?
We're working on it. It's funny. When I came in, I was obsessed with the UFO files. And then you start getting really busy worrying about the economy and national security and things like that. But I've still got 3 more years as vice president. I will get to the bottom of the UFO files.
Okay. Have you peeked? Have you done a peek?
Have I what?
Have you done a peek? Have you
So I actually haven't. I have
full
not.
Independence Day.
I have not been able to spend enough time on this to really understand it, but I am going to. Trust me, I'm obsessed with this. I've already had a couple of times where I'm like, all right, we're going to Area 51. We're going out to New Mexico. We're going to sort of get to the bottom of this.
Okay, first, why is it always Area 51? It's like the great misdirection. It's always, we're going to get to the bottom. We're going to Area 51, as if that's going to reveal the greatest secrets of aliens and UFOs. I guess it's just the most popular thing. It leads me to believe the whole thing is a psyop, but continue. Go ahead.
Interesting admission in there too that, I got into office. I was really excited. I said, I'm going to figure this out. But then I get distracted by the economy, get distracted by this sort of tacit admission that there's like an economy of distraction that keeps like the most interesting things. Of course, there's the alien topic or disclosure could also be its own distraction. But right there in his sort of explanation is sort of this tacit admission that there's this cycle and economy of distraction to give people just enough, but then the pull back, keep them engaged, keep the gun locked and loaded to be able to deploy distraction again when they need it most.
Yep. And I've long thought that some of the big events that America is known for with the UFO topic, like Roswell, is a government psyop to cover up some like pretty horrific experiments and stuff like that. So let's let JD Vance continue.
The alien talk is just off the charts right now.
It is. Yeah, I know.
To whatever, like it is just full blast. Disclosure of the scientists disappearing, of this.
Yeah, we'll get to that too. There's another update on that.
Esoteric connections, but then again, it's easy to kind of pass over how intense, how drastic it is that the aliens are demons concept coming directly from the White House. We've seen this escalation. Of course, the Canarians have seen it since 2012, from fringe conspiracy theory, building up to maybe mentions in weird like Daily Mail articles, making it to the mainstream media, making it to military officials and scientists, and then just coming straight from the co-executive of the country. It's intense.
We're going to sort of get to the bottom of this. And then the timing of the trip just didn't work out. But trust me, anybody who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody. And I've got 3 years of the very, very tippy top of the classification. I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, so you haven't been to Area 51 yet?
Not yet.
Some people say they keep the UFOs in Ohio.
Hangar 18, right? I've heard that as well. but I don't know. I haven't looked into it yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we're waiting for it. We saw aliens.
You know me.
We saw
You know me.
aliens.gov.
I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway, but that's a longer discussion.
Well, I can't let you go without a follow-up on that. Because Barack Obama is on this podcast and he goes, yeah, aliens are real, but like, here's where they're not. And, you know, and so Obama says, yes, aliens he gets asked point blank, are aliens real? Oh, yeah. And then he goes, but they're not at Area 51. And
well, where are they?
Well, that's what he says. Right. There's a great question. Trump had to go save him, and he said he's going to declassify. Okay. So you think they're demons?
Well, look, I think that celestial beings who fly around, who do weird things to people, I think that the desire to describe everything celestial, everything is otherworldly, to describe it as aliens. I mean, every great world religion, including Christianity, the one that I believe in, has understood that there are weird things out there, and there are things that are very difficult to explain. And I naturally go, when I hear about sort of extra natural phenomenon, that's where I go to, is the Christian understanding that, you know, there's a lot of good out there, but there's also some evil out there. And I think that one of the devil's great tricks is to convince people he never existed.
Extra natural. That's another one. Yeah. We've heard supernatural, but extra natural.
I kind of like extra natural.
It's not a bad term. Yeah.
No.
You know, there's some biblical precedent for this, although you know, the nuance, the thing that gets me is the nuance with all of this. You go to Deuteronomy 32, around verse 16, it says, they provoked his jealousy, talking about God, with foreign gods, lowercase g. They enraged him with abominations. They sacrificed to demons, the word there is Elohim, not to God, to gods, lowercase g, they had not known, to newly arrived gods, which your fathers did not fear. And so there's this idea that back in the day, some of these people that did not worship Yahweh were worshiping demons, and that they appeared as, actually, I think the Hebrew word is shadim there, the demon. They appeared as gods or foreign gods at that time. But again, it's nuanced. The rabbit hole goes deep on the biblical topic here, because the aliens equals demons thing, it's been brought up multiple times in recent weeks on the internet, on X. There's big debates breaking out. There's Christian podcasters yelling at each other and making, I mean, it's pretty out of control. But the reality is the topic of Genesis 6, the sons of God are the watchers, and who they are. These are divine beings that rebelled against God. They're not necessarily demons. They may be demonic, but they're not demons. Their activity with human women, the daughters of Adam, as recorded in Genesis 6, created the race of giants called Nephilim, and the Nephilim being wiped out with the flood, according to extra biblical texts from that time, created these disembodied spirits, which are called demons, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. And that's sort of the ancient Near East view of what demons are. So, you know, it gets technical. There's a lot of, I don't know, ancient Near East mythological perspectives to consider when you talk about this. And you got to distinguish between the watchers and the Nephilim, or the demons. And, you know, maybe tomato at some level in 2026. But, you know, it's a topic that I think people need to understand and study. And it's certainly something that we've been, you know, running around and talking about for over 10 years. So it is strange to hear it just be brought up in the context of UFOs and aliens, which another thing I always talk about is, you know, the topic was UFOs. And so to jump from UFOs to aliens is also another leap in logic here, because there's no clear connection other than assumptions that if people see nuts and bolts hardware that are not official military sort of vehicles, you know, we assume it's aliens, or it's extraterrestrials, or it's some, you know, craft from some other place. But also lights in the sky are considered UFOs. So it all gets kind of categorized as one big thing. And again, there's got to be a little bit more clarity there. There's got to be critical thinking, because what people might see as maybe nuts and bolts craft might be top secret intelligence craft that exist that are not public. But lights in the sky might be something entirely different. And that's a separate conversation from the encounters people have with aliens, as far as alien abductions, or some kind of more spiritual experience with some of these entities and things. So, it kind of bothers me that this one line, aliens are demons, gets thrown out there by the vice president, and this, I don't know, kind of a low level understanding of the topic gets thrown around, and people agree with it. And if you disagree with it, oh, you must not be a Christian, or you're not reading your Bible or something like that. And it's just frustrating.
Again, you look at it, with the analysis of fifth generation warfare. Sir Darren brings up back to the extra natural topic, says extra natural, already creating the new marketing term, which really is kind of what it is. That's why we have to say, well, we don't have to say it, but that's why UAP was sort of put into the lexicon. Extra natural now. I don't recall hearing extra natural. It may have been used before, so I don't know if this is necessarily the first time that it's appearing, but the fact that it's being used by the vice president certainly establishes the phrase extra natural into the conversation. And it is interesting because we know that language is one of the primary ways you control the way people think. You control people's thoughts and their perceptions through changing the words that they use. And in a way, I think if I think about it for one more second, the reason I kind of liked the term extra natural is because supernatural at this point is a bit of a term where, some people have an idea, supernatural, you're thinking the spirit realm, you're thinking, something like this. But some people, when they hear the phrase supernatural, they think fake. It's just fake.
I think there's been 15 years between 2005 and 2020 of commoditizing this word for the TV show. So a lot of people know it as the TV show, I think, as well.
Yeah, there is the TV show as well.
Yeah.
But, putting out this term extra natural, I also kind of like it because, I've spent my time pontificating for years, whether it's on Ravel or whether it's on Canary Clubhouse or something, really kind of parsing. And I don't need to parse it now, but it's a part of the conversation of like, what is supernatural exactly? And when we think of like the spirit realm as supernatural, it kind of forces you to consider it something other than natural, something outside
beyond beyond
normal nature kind of thing, where I think as believers, the supernatural is a part of our everyday reality. And supernatural is just like the word people use for it, but it's really not outside of nature. It is nature. Whatever, is happening in the spirit realm is a part of nature, and having it sort of programmed into us as thinking that the spirit realm is totally separate and disconnected from the material world is actually a very strong sort of social engineering tactic to be able to separate things in ways that maybe they shouldn't necessarily be separated. I talk about the Gnostic heresy all the time about, everything spiritual is holy and divine and everything material is evil, where in the Old Testament, the good old time religion context, the spiritual and the material were not separated in the way that we think of it now. They were interacting with each other all the time. They were sort of a part of one another. To think of them separated actually, I think, does us a disservice in living, some biblical truth. So calling it extra natural at least is a step away from that sort of long time social programming to make us feel separated from the spiritual realm, when in fact it's just as integral to our daily experience as the material world or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they're going for or not, but they're obviously setting up the language for whatever disclosure comes next.
Yeah, and it might have something to do with some quantum stuff too, just because I looked it up while you were talking there. And there is a term called extranatural transformation. Sounds really kind of, woo-woo type thing. But it's just advanced category theory. And, like upper class or high level mathematics will talk about this. And I don't quite understand it looking at this, but from what I understand, it's used in category theory when certain objects are swapped out for some kind of equation. So I don't know.
Well,
maybe there's.
The
It reminds
quantum
me of some quantum theory, you know.
the quantum computing thing is actually a great example, another baby step into getting rid of this separation between the material and the spiritual, because it's, you know, established science, it's technology that's in use now. And the idea is that these quantum computers access different dimensions to you know, do computation at a bajillion times faster. You know, they're doing math in multiple dimensions at once, which is, you know, if you think of science, at least as far as the popular socially engineered understanding, is like science is real, science is the material, science is around us, you can touch science and it's understanding the world. Whereas the supernatural, it's invisible, it's far away, maybe it's fake or whatever. But the quantum computing issue really is the scientific blending of like, no, the supernatural is real, we can access it, we use it for our computers, and it's sort of ushering in the quote supernatural, or maybe in this case extra natural, maybe that's part of the language sort of play here, is that no, the supernatural is not separate from us, we can access it, we use it for computing, it's totally there. And in this case, you know, we're distinguishing between supernatural, which people think is fake and fairy tales and stuff or whatever, and ushering it into the lexicon and the basic sort of accepted consensus understanding of reality as extra natural. It is a part of us. It is just more.
It feels like a bridge word to the word interdimensional, because people might, I've seen a lot of that. It's like, oh, well, they're interdimensional. They're not physical, you know? And so maybe interdimensional is too big of a leap. There's not enough scientific weight to the word. But if you use extra natural, it kind of allows, it still has the word natural in there to, you know, help the secularists to sort of ruminate about, you know, the unseen type of realm thing. But you're right. The quantum is sort of the I don't know. It feels like the step or the soft landing for the materialists to come to the conclusion that we're operating with this unseen realm that interacts and interweaves with the physical world. It's all just one big thing, although there are barriers. Because way back when, the D-Wave computer, you know, we talked about the D-Wave and we've been tracking it. And Gordy Rose was up there on stage talking about the first D-Wave computer, which I don't know if it was even a legit quantum computer. He made it sound like it was. But his whole thing was like, oh, we're summoning the old ones. We are summoning entities with the quantum computer. And so the concept has been there all along. So maybe this is a way for the general public to have scientific weight, you know, whatever that's worth, to accepting that these entities are smarter than us and more advanced. And, you know, they're beyond the material world, much in the way that you know, theologians have been saying for centuries.
It's required too, like that piece of the puzzle, of the social engineering puzzle, is required for disclosure. You know, it's setting the sort of scientific stage and the consensus accepted understanding of, because a lot of people, much less now, but for a long time, when you said, you know, aliens are extraterrestrial, that's as loony and as fake as saying supernatural. You know, they put like ghosts and witches in the same context or in the same
gnomes and fairies,
aliens, right? I think we're presented with an opportunity, Gons, if we wanted to call an audible real quick and do the pharmakia section here.
Ooh, you want to do the pharmakia section here.
I think there's an interesting connection between this and the pharmakia piece of it, the sort of supernatural, extra dimensional. It seems like it could fit right here. We don't have to, but if you think
that seems like I feel like this is like a big
feels locked in. Feels locked
big
in.
audible. Okay, all right, yeah, let's do it. Go for it.
Okay, well, along the same lines, I think this is interesting. This was a big story, been sort of developing over the past I think 5, 6, 7 days, that we're seeing hit sort of a fever pitch right now. And it's Brian Johnson, the billionaire, vampire, transhumanist fellow.
Literal vampire, takes the blood of his son to figure out how to live longer.
Yeah, he's going to live forever and things like this. We all remember we reported on his mushroom trip that he did live, which did a lot for the sort of psychedelics community, because it brought the attention. It was sort of this official merging of the like psychedelics, hippy dippy new age sort of community with the billionaire tech oligopoly technocrat sort of community, which was interesting. And it was a big deal for the Canarium, because this is what we have been talking about for so many years, including with the Burning Man research. If there's one big message coming out of the Burning Man trips with Carl Teichrieb and Camp of the Unknown God, the repeating analysis that came out of this year after year was, no, you don't understand. Burning Man is not a bunch of hippies. It's a bunch of transhumanists, and coming out and making these connections between psychedelics and aliens and interdimensional and quantum computing, AI. Like if you go back to some of our earliest Burning Man research episodes, 2018, 2019, it was being revealed there as the petri dish of the direction to bring culture worldwide. It was being revealed there that psychedelics, interdimensionality, and AI, practical AI use, were all part of the same movement, all part of the same epoch that we're moving into. And lo and behold, anybody who's been paying attention has seen that happen step by step ever since, but is just kind of an accepted part of I don't know, understanding culture nowadays. But let's throw the psychedelics and transhumanism jingle in there too, just to really set the stage.
Okay, the psychedelic. I found this one. Groovy. And the transhuman one. Here we got a couple of them.
There we go, Homo superior. Now, this is coming from rollingstone.com. You'll see with the headline the kind of context they're presenting this in, which is a very clever sort of misdirection. But the headline is, could a psychedelic stop your brain from aging? Longevity guru Brian Johnson is giving it a shot. A couple framings there, framing it in the context of aging and stopping aging. Framing Brian Johnson as a longevity guru instead of like a transhumanist technocrat who wants to live forever. Just a couple interesting ways to frame it there. Oh no, why don't you give us start reading that for us, because for some reason, my archive version didn't pull up here.
All right, it says here, Brian Johnson, the centimillionaire who has turned his own life into a data-driven experiment in living forever, looked nervous. On Sunday afternoon, in a white room on Bowen Island in British Columbia, he prepared to live stream himself smoking what is widely considered the world's most potent psychedelic, 5-MeO-DMT, which has been said to simulate death, in an attempt to find out whether such an intense trip might also return one's brain to a younger state. The 48-year-old self-proclaimed healthiest person in the world and Trump supporter has said that his body, quote, largely operates at elite 18-year-old levels, thanks to spending an estimated $2 million a year on an extreme anti-aging regimen. That includes taking more than 50 daily supplements, many from his own Blueprint brand, using shockwave therapy, on his man parts, and swapping plasma with his son and father. Man, he's just taking it from everybody. But his brain stubbornly remains at the atomic age of 42. Quote, the brain is really hard to rejuvenate, he lamented on Instagram. live prior to the trip.
Interesting. Again, back to framing, which Rolling Stones is like famous for this. This is like their whole gig is taking whatever the story is and finding really creative ways of using very simple sort of social engineering tricks to like program the reader as they go. I mean, even calling Brian Johnson a Trump supporter, like that is so bizarre. I mean, the definition for quote Trump supporter, we know the mainstream has benefited from widening that definition as wide as possible. Like, and here's the like most obscure definition of Trump supporter for Brian Johnson. Says here, in smoking 5-MeO DMT live on social media for science, in quotes, entrepreneur Johnson, who sold payments company Braintree Venmo for $800 million more than a decade ago, is taking psychedelic exhibitionism to a new frontier in a digital age where the process of healing seems increasingly performative. Everything is potential content. It was only a matter of time before psychedelics trips became fodder for the algorithm. Yeah, as if he's the first guy to do this.
He figured it out. The Rolling Stones just figured out that this was a thing.
But his experiment also speaks to how psychedelics are being recast as optimization tools, which might not only reduce depression, but also sharpen the mind. Welcome to 2016, Rolling Stone. And as chaos and violence rage around the world, perhaps there is something refreshing about an influential man like Johnson exploring the mysterious nature of consciousness.
There it is,
even
mystery.
if it might just be for clout. Beep bop boo. Now we have his I guess X post right after it, where he does post the live stream. We'll have a clip or two that we can take from his response to it. But he says this about his DMT experience. This was the most profound experience of my life, which is funny because he said the same thing about his mushroom experience. I am stunned beyond comprehension. This molecule is without peer. The 27 milligram dose opened up what felt like pure consciousness and intelligence, a majestic reveal of existence itself in all of its incomprehensible glory and majesty. So we've got some religious language around this from the transhumanist. It is impossible to explain with words. However, whatever you imagine, multiply it by 1,000 and then add infinite width and depth and dimensions. And so what he's referring to here without saying the word is ineffability, which is often something attributed to God. You know, it's impossible to truly describe God. Any way that you describe God, you are failing to describe it. But entrance was not granted without prerequisite. Existence demanded that I submit, that I say yes, without attachment and without condition. Yes to existence, yes to the dissolution of self, and yes to release control, yes to all. And so we have this theme coming up in the past few weeks and months, this theme of surrender. What was it was another trippy thing where there was this posture of surrender. Oh, hands up, head down, hands up.
Head down, hands up. Yeah, that we talked about.
Yeah, with this sort of hypnotic NLP chant during one of the airline, I guess,
scares, quote unquote.
Scares, right, where everybody had to chant head down, hands up, this sort of the posture of surrender. And here we have the idea of surrender as being a part of this sort of interdimensional travel as well. My ego registered the ask and panicked. It wanted control. It was desperate for control. It pleaded to escape from the torrent of light and essence that threatened to rip my sanity to shards. He spells shards with C-H-A-R-D, like
the
shard
vegetable. Yeah. Okay.
My soul was going to be ripped to vegetables. The urge to eject was overwhelming. Terror thundered throughout my mind and body. What does that remind you of, Gons? What does that description remind you of?
Sleep paralysis.
It reminds me of the descriptions of Old Testament prophets and Old Testament characters coming in contact with angels or God.
Oh, you're talking about theophanies.
Yes, right. It was always this terror. It was always this.
Oh, yeah, there's always thunder too. There's
Always
thunder, terror, thundered. Yeah, thundering voice, or yeah.
Like that. A single concept emerged in omnipresence. We cannot grok the preciousness of our existence, yet it is overwhelming. It is everything we ever wanted and more. The state we long for without knowing it exists. This caused me great pain and heartache. A swell of loyalty and devotion emerged inside me, pledging allegiance to existence, to become a warrior and caretaker of life on earth, to protect at any cost the candle of consciousness that has miraculously emerged from this part of the galaxy. What awaits will wipe all your tears, soothe all your sorrows, and infinitely exceed your wants. He's basically just describing what every church father, what every Old Testament prophet, what everybody who's ever, had a theophany explains to you. And this is why psychedelics have become popularly known as entheogens.
Entheogens, yes, thank you. I was going to bring up that word. I had it all ready to go. So
yeah, which loosely translates to God inside.
Yeah.
And these types of
this
molecules, as they're often referred to. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say this swell of loyalty and devotion emerged inside of me, pledging allegiance to existence.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of Romans. Let me try to pull it up here. I think it's Romans 1. I think it's verse 25-ish down here. Let's see. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature, or some say creation, rather than the creator, who is forever worthy of praise on it. Saying existence as like nature itself, or it's not God, it's the thing he created, and he's submitting allegiance to it, and saying he's going to take care of it and all this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting.
In theology and in philosophy, as again we explored on Ravel and other places, there's three different sort of categories of the ways that people conceive of God: super being, hyper being, and ground of being. So super being is just like a guy, but he's better than humans, but he's like a human in all the ways, but he has better human traits than everybody else.
He's like a transhuman then,
like a Superman, kind of thing. That's it's sort of a I don't know, you could call it like an immature understanding of God or something, but just this very basic, like God is like a guy, but better. He's the best guy, Then hyper being is God is something other than a guy, but is, kind of beyond our understanding of skills and capabilities. And this is kind of the next step of like, he's omnipresent, he's omnipotent, he's not a guy, but we can kind of quantify his characteristics. These are the ways in which he's more than a guy. But then there's ground of being, which another way of thinking of God, which is he is what allows existence to exist. Whatever that collection of forces, or whatever that collection of ideas, or whatever, again, very hard to describe, but it's he's the very thing that allows existence to even exist, rather than hyper being is like he exists better than we do, he exists in a different way. Ground of being is the only way that brings understanding of God outside of creation. Right. He's what allows creation to even exist. And so, like you said, when Brian comes out and describes, what am I, where's the part here? The
swell of loyalty and devotion.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, swell of loyalty and devotion emerged inside me, pledging allegiance to existence. So even here, from the vocabulary of human being, like from the vocabulary of transhumanists, from the vocabulary of New Age, from the vocabulary of even religion. You can see how the measurement of greatness or godness is still being confined to what exists and what existence is. So like you pointed out, we're still talking about like creation. You could say existence is like maybe the highest, broadest form that doesn't quite step out to ground of being, but still talking about creation, existence, what has been created, which I think is very interesting, because people will read, pledging allegiance to existence and be like, whoa, that's like the biggest thing.
Must be God.
Yeah,
Must
that's
be the greatest thing.
It goes. But ground of being, meaning God is what allows existence to even exist. So, in the context, if you're going to put into eschatology or put into biblical prophecy, things like this, it's still putting creation before the creator, and using this language that is giving the impression that it's bigger than you could explain otherwise, and fits into, again, eschatology of, hey, if we're looking at a one world religion, if we're looking at a beast system, if we're looking at, and this was displayed in 20th century writings like the Mercer box, Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, these kinds of things. We're looking at a one world religion that has to be filtered through science, the extra natural, if you will, helping us kind of understand what this perhaps supernatural experience he had, but putting it in the context of science, transhumanism, et cetera, et cetera.
He wants to become a warrior. It says here, to become a warrior and caretaker of life on Earth. That's a pretty hefty duty there. To protect at any cost the candle of consciousness. Is that like the Luciferian Promethean flame?
That's bringing in the AI conversation, consciousness being this emergent property when
it miraculously emerged in this part of the galaxy. So there's still miracles under this paradigm. What awaits will wipe away or wipe all your tears, soothe all your sorrows, and infinitely exceed your wants.
Which is just like basically just straight up biblical language about
it's
God.
Biblical language of the restoration and the second coming and all that. It's crazy.
And
okay,
and it's accessible through pharmakia. It's accessible through
just live stream your DMT trip, and you can have all this too, everybody, and live forever. Just got to take your baby blood and your daddy blood, and
the whole thing.
$2 million a year.
I mean, again, it's presenting DMT in this case, but pharmakia as a sacrament to the infinite. It is the sacraments of the psychedelic transhuman religion that's here to replace, the understanding of the long-standing understanding of the divine, the supernatural, the extra natural, things like that. So he's taking his place as a real sort of priest of the beast system, one world religion. Now, he, of course, has gone on a lot of interviews and made a lot of statements about this, sharing his experience. This one was kind of interesting. There was some very interesting little blips in this report here. We can play. Who is this from? I think this is with Benny Johnson again. Wow, Benny Johnson.
Is this with Benny Johnson?
I think so. Maybe not.
It says eight
sleep. Sorry. I was talking about Brian Johnson. This is not Benny Johnson. Play this. Maybe it'll be revealed.
Those who have done 5-MeO would probably relate with me that it feels like an impossible task to explain what it's like. So that caveat said, I'll give it a go. I'm stunned, absolutely floored, speechless. You basically...
Did you say there's no audio?
No, I was saying it's ineffable. Again, he's talking
ineffable. Ineffable. Okay. I can't hear you when you talk over the clips.
Experience raw consciousness and raw intelligence. It's this. So when I say these words, take these words that I convey to you, take that idea, multiply it by 1,000, and then move out infinite depth, infinite width and depth, and then dimensions. And like that gives you kind of like a rough map of like the size and space that you deal with. And it was incredibly hard because you get blasted into this space that is so foreign, you don't even know what's happening.
It happens very quickly.
Like you inhale it. I did 9 milligrams of intramuscular and then 18 of it vaporized, and it hits you within 10 seconds. You're just you're out. And so, but what happens is you get in that space, and then
visual changes.
Very little visual. Like you see it on DMT, it's very visual. You'll meet the like the elves or whatever else. This is not a visual experience, but you get in this world and you lock in to basically you either panic because you feel like the gates of hell are going to open, that the stream of existence is going to just tear you to shreds. It's going to shard you. And if you give up,
like break your brain.
Yeah. Like if you feel like it's going to like threaten your sanity, like is it going to chop you up into little pieces?
The editing on this clip is chopping me up. It's giving me, turning me into shards or charts. The way this is edited. I know they clip out the ums and the breaks and stuff like that, but man, it just, my brain just can't handle it.
And so in that moment you have to say, do I try to wrestle this and I need to just like wait it out until it's over, or you just relent, you say yes. And you have to, in that moment, you have to say yes so thoroughly. You have to release all attachment, all preconditions, all want, all desire. You have to release self, ego, control. You just have to just relent entirely. And then when you do that, it opened up this unimaginable bliss and euphoria.
Yeah, repent, don't relent.
You just have
to the system.
You just have to surrender at the gates of hell, and then you get unimaginable bliss and euphoria, Gons. It's simple. I mean, he sort of speaks for himself.
I think we've come to we've crossed the Rubicon. It's over. I think we figured it out.
It's got to be biblical.
Well, and this is very interesting as well, because what has come after this, another sort of groundswell of chatter, if you will, on the internet and in the podcastosphere and things like this. It turns out there's a lot of chatter about coming from DMT psychonauts in various places who are all describing kind of at the same time this uptick of specifically psychonauts and mostly DMT psychonauts who are experiencing getting banned from the extra natural world. They're getting
They're calling it lockout.
They're getting locked
term is
out
lockout. Yeah.
from the DMT realm or from hyperspace. You know, they call it all sorts of different things. And it's very interesting. Let's play it's not a super great clip, but let's play about 60 seconds. This fella's name is Zoltan. And he is a psychonaut, and he went on a podcast, and they kind of talk about it a little bit here, but then we'll talk about it more after about, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes. We'll feel it out. Oh, I don't know if you have it playing on the stream.
I don't have the screen. Sorry, my bad.
Kicked out of the. What I want to talk about. We talked about it last night. What do you think happened when you said you got kicked out of the DMT space?
Right.
Was that the same experience when you experienced this oneness, this one conscious loneliness?
So yeah, the getting kicked out experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you Google this happens to a lot of people actually, right? And so, which also underlines that again, there is something that happened. This physically happened to me, so I can verify it in my physical, concrete existence, or agreed upon existence. This is our agreed upon existence. In a second I go into that space, we're no longer in the agreed upon reality because we can't verify those rule sets that then it talks about, like I can't walk through the wall, right, is now applying to all of us, right? So we have an agreed upon reality, and agreement is that I can't walk through that wall. Now in a second I'm in that space, right? The rule set is not yet established. There is a rule set, but we just don't know that rule set yet, so we have a hard time to agree upon the reality of that space. It has a reality, it has a rule set, and there's sometimes something happens that I can verify that, like getting kicked out, right? So that happened to me, that I got kicked out. I can tell you the little story why and how that happened, but the physical proof of that is, number one, research it, getting kicked out of DMT, and you're
you
gonna
find
see
it, Steve? See if you can Google it.
hundreds of people will talk about like they got kicked out for various reasons and for various period of time. And what happens once I got kicked out, I couldn't get back in.
My friend.
Okay, so they're looking it up.
There, yeah.
This reminds me of the temple in the Old Testament, where you got to be a priest and you got to have all these rules to go into the holiest of holies. And you look at Brian Johnson; he's got $2 million working on his body and doing. He is really truly the priest of the what is it, the Levites or the
you go to the Levitical laws where they had to wash their body a certain way. They had to refrain from things like touching bodies, touching dead bodies, or touching blood. They had this very strict regimen, if you will, that was very expensive. And that's why it took one entire sort of family line or one entire tribe of the Israelites to devote their entire lives to just keeping these Levitical laws, and they had to devote themselves so thoroughly in the same way that Brian Johnson kind of is doing, that they didn't even have a town, like a land of their own. They couldn't have jobs. They had to devote every moment of every day to keeping these Levitical laws. And in order to allow them even the time and the ability and the wealth to do the Brian Johnson, thing, to keep those laws, to keep them worthy of being priests, they were taken care of by the other 11 tribes. They didn't have a land of their own. They didn't have a society of their own. They had to spend so much time and money and devotion to staying worthy that they were split. They were kind of cast throughout the land to be taken care of by the other tribes. And the other tribes fed them and paid them and kept them alive. And their entire job, their entire existence was to keeping this cleanliness, this sort of purity, through various ways. And that's what allowed them to enter the Holy of Holies. And if they didn't accurately or sufficiently keep their purity, they would die. They are not allowed into the Holy of Holies. So you've got this version. And, I mentioned Brian Johnson kind of being a priest of this new interdimensional religion. I mean, it's really bizarre, the similarities between Old Testament temple Judaism and this, whatever this is, this psychedelic, transhumanism. And I'll tell you the little story. He takes 10 minutes to tell this story. It's really hard to sit through. But long story short, he uses DMT all the time, hundreds of times. He's exploring the realm. And one time he goes in there and he appears in a space.
This is the guy with the dreadlocks you're talking about, not Brian Johnson.
Right. The guy who was just describing getting kicked out. He gets into DMT land. He appears in this space, and in that space, there's already an entity. Like he interrupted some entity in there. And he goes on and on and on to try to say, like, this is what the entity looked like to me, but it can look different for everybody because you perceive these entities in whatever way you're filtering.
That's not quite how Dr. Rick Strassman's research into DMT suggested was.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying this particular being, it's you filter it through whatever your perceptions. It doesn't matter. It's not important.
Sure.
But he said that because the being looked like a gray alien. Right. So I think he was trying to do is separate, like, I'm not saying it was a gray alien, but he looked like a gray alien and he was tall. That's the form he took. And the gray alien sort of telepathically speaks to him, and he's kind of annoyed that he's there, that he's been interrupted. And he says, "What do you want?" "Okay, what do you want? Ask your question." And Zoltan here, he says, actually, I don't really have a question. I'm just passing through. Sorry to bother you. I'm just passing through. I don't want anything from you. I don't have a question. And the DMT being got so irritated at him that he kicked him out. And he said, you can't be a tourist here. You can't just pass through. You're not a tourist. If you're just poking around for no reason, you can't come back. If you want to be here, you need to have a reason. You need to have an intention or whatever. This is the story that Zoltan told. So he kind of tells this story about getting kicked out because he didn't take it seriously, because he was a tourist, because he was just, flippantly visiting this place. Which again is very similar to like the Levites and the Holy of Holies and the temple. You don't go in there flippantly. It's like an extremely serious
sacred space. Yeah, it's where God comes to dwell with people. So yeah, of course.
And so he tells this story and it's really weird. We're seeing more and more of this. Hundreds and hundreds of DMT users are all saying this. And so we both dug a little bit, but I dug for a couple days to, look for an article, see if whatever futurism or whatever. I couldn't quite find like a really reliable outlet that was reporting on this. And the reason I thought there had to be some reporting is because it's everywhere. It is the talk of the town. Everybody is saying the DMT psychonauts are getting kicked out. What does it mean that they're getting kicked out of hyperspace? Is something going on? Are we banned? Are humans banned from interdimensional travel? Oh no. Of course, this is, again, fifth generational warfare. This is the theme. This is the communication that the algos and whoever's controlling the timelines are really hammering this home of like, our brave DMT psychonauts are getting kicked out of the spirit realm. What does this mean? But I go looking, I can't quite find a reliable single source reporting on it. But what I do find is like literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of like trip reports, DMT users. They're all saying the same thing. And this goes back, I will say it goes back to at least 2023. Most of them, are between 2023 and 2026. There were some reports around 2020, 2021, but it looks like for the past 3 years, there's been this like building message that like humans are getting kicked out of the spirit realm, basically, which has everybody, all freaked out for whatever reason. They have their own sort of new age eschatology. What does this mean? How can we appease the DMT elves to let us back in? This sort of thing. So that Zoltan video is 10 minutes and there's a 15-minute version. I haven't found any shorter versions of that video. I think mainly because he takes so long to tell the story that it's like hard to cut out or something. I don't know. But another video that people are spreading, and this is why we got to make sure to look at this in the war for our minds, okay? The narrative crafting, the social engineering, the fifth generation warfare, okay? I'm not saying all this to say that this is true and it's happening and we got to appease the DMT elves, but this is the message being pushed on the rest of, I guess, humanity or whatever. Here is one video that is being shared thousands of times. This is kind of the example that people share when they, want to put the message out there that we're all getting kicked out of the spirit realm.
The machine elves have permanently banned me from the DMT realm, and I honestly don't know what I did wrong. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything wrong. I was playing with some psychic energy objects, some psychedelic plants and shapes. I was interacting with the bugmen. And apparently I did something, at some point I did something wrong, and the all-seeing infinite intelligence just lit me up like a light and said, "You are permanently banned, get out." I was told that I was spiritually bankrupt, that my soul was weaker than most people's, and that was it. And I have tried now several times to go back, and I've been doing DMT for a long time. I'm a pro, okay? But I can't get back there now. I take it, I go into the darkness, I see the doors, I hear the machine elves, I can sense the all-seeing intelligence, and then I just hear, "Fuck off."
Whoa! You didn't tell me that there's bad words in here.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. Earmuffs, kids. I think that's the only one.
Okay, are we gonna keep going?
Yeah, keep going. Finish it out.
Okay.
Fuck off.
Oh, dude.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, I forgot. Okay, keep going. Sorry, kids. Apologies to the parents.
Oh, man.
And then I wake up as if nothing has happened. And I haven't even been there for very long, only a few seconds. Now, I'm normally there for hundreds of years. In the quantum realm, I am there for hundreds of years. I'm now there for maybe 2 minutes. And I don't know where the compound is going, because I'm not even having an experience anymore. I'm taking it, I'm being told to get out, and that's over. But I need to be able to go back there. We all do. We don't know if that isn't the actual reality, and that this world is a simulation. And I don't want to be trapped in this simulation. And if that's the realm we go to when we pass, then where does that leave me now, if I don't have access? So please, if anybody is going into the DMT realm, or is meeting the machine elves, or the all-seeing intelligence, please, can you ask them what it is I have done wrong, put in a word for me, and just explain that even though I was interacting with things, or maybe it looked like I was stealing something, I wasn't. If I was taking anything, it was simply to bring it back to this realm for analysis, so we can understand this psychic dimension in a different way. Please.
Okay. So, pretty straightforward. He's telling this story. He's concerned. He's, there's nothing really funny about it. There's,
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's, I don't know. There's no serious jokes or anything. This seems pretty straightforward, right? This guy just kind of telling his story. Well, the problem with this, and this is the one that primarily people are sharing to tell this story. The problem is this guy is a guy named Damien Slash, and Damien Slash's profile on X says parody and satire, comedian level 9,000 troll, pose law, featured by Fox News, Sky News, Daily Wire, MSNBC, ABC. So he is explicitly a satire account, a parody account, but you watch this video and there's nothing there's no punchline really.
Well,
I mean,
you know what though? I will tell you that because you told me it was parody before, I was already watching it with that, because I hadn't watched this clip before. I was watching it with that in mind, and I can tell, but I can understand where he's like, "Oh, the elves were telling the elves kicked me out."
So the only thing that I can find, again, knowing that it's parody and satire, or at least the guy claims he's parody and satire, the only thing that I could really sense that could have been a joke is when he's like, can somebody go in there and vouch for me?
Right. That's
that kind of thing. Like, okay, now that I know it's parody and satire, he's telling people to go vouch for him, but it's not like funny. Like somebody watching that or listening to that for the first time really wouldn't.
Well, especially DMT professional. Well, he says he was a DMT professional. That to me kind of rang a bell too. But if you're a tripper person, if you're serious about this topic, the music in the background and everything, you definitely would not, unless you knew, who this guy was or whatever.
I think a normal person, like there's nothing explicitly satirical. And what I think one of my analysis of what this might be, knowing that he's just, trying to be, this is his job. He's trying to get views, trying to get whatever, and that's how he gets paid. So you could see it being his strategy to like, oh, this is a big trend. Everybody's talking about people getting kicked out of DMT. I'm going to just do a very serious DMT thing, getting kicked out, and everybody will share it. And that's exactly what happened.
He pulled it off. Good job.
He pulled it off. He did exactly what he tried to do, and he didn't even have to make a joke, right? That was not a comedic skit. But that's the one that people are very seriously sharing around. And this tells me, okay, so we're looking at something algorithmic. This guy is kind of explicitly using this phenomenon, that there's so much chatter about DMT people getting kicked out, that he did it for the clicks. I don't know, maybe he really is a DMT guy and just took this opportunity. I don't think so. I think he did it for the clicks, but the data is there. The message is getting pushed and is popular enough and being rewarded by the algorithms enough that this was he was incentivized to make money by making this very serious video, right?
Yeah.
And so this goes back to the 5th generation warfare. For some reason, right now is the time that the message goes out on all fronts for everybody to talk about. There's barely any real sources for this. The only like serious source that made it far and wide enough was that Zoltan guy telling his 10 to 15 minute story. And it's like, it's so long. There's no shorter version. Like that can't, that cannot possibly be.
Has it been brought up
organic.
on? Has it been brought up on Joe Rogan?
I
That's
don't
like the ultimate litmus test, right?
Yeah, I
Some
don't know.
guy
It's
popping on there. Maybe this is the next. They're trying to get on there. I mean, it does a couple things. One, for the people that are involved in the research, I'm sure they, not the research, but participants of DMT to seek spiritual enlightenment or whatever it might be, they will probably try it again to see if they're locked out. But also a whole bunch of new people might try it too. They might be like, well, I want to know if I'm locked out.
Yeah, I haven't been banned. I've never even been
I don't
there.
know. Yeah. So it I don't know. It'll dox the people who have done it more so, maybe incentivizing them to talk about their experiences more. I don't know. It's trying to think in terms of 5th generation.
I think that's the thing. I think I think that there's a serious draw now for people who maybe they've never thought about it. Maybe they thought about it and never done it. But now there's like, the culture is so incentivized now to go see if you're kicked out of the DMT realm because everybody else is kicked out. If I'm not kicked out, maybe I can share something with people. Yeah, I'll come out. And so you combine the Brian Johnson live stream, super famous billionaire, technocrat,
centimillionaire for you. He's not quite billionaire yet, but he'll get there if he keeps doing these live streams.
I thought he was billionaire. Okay. Either way, at the same time, you have Vance talking about extra natural, talking about the alien thing. This is, of course, we've seen the buildup with aliens.gov and blah, blah, blah. The whole thing has sort of been building up. But this particular phenomenon, making the connection between aliens, the government's talking about aliens and demons, extra natural, supernatural world, the billionaires are having this experience, finding the true religion, and all these other people are getting kicked out. There's this incentive to try to get into it. I think it's very strong 5th generation warfare to encourage trying to access the supernatural. It's affirmed by the government. The billionaires are telling you how it's done and what to expect. Now's the best time than ever to try to jump on in there. And
are you in the club or not?
Yeah, instead of understanding that the supernatural, the extra natural, the biblical sort of understanding that access to these things is that there's a protocol, there's a biblical protocol, and if you're looking for access to eternity, it is done through Jesus Christ. And it's the age of reenchantment, as Carl Teichrieb has written about and extolled to the community, and through the sort of buildup of the Burning Man transhumanist tech oligarch culture, now breaking through at the same time as the aliens and JD Vance and demons and blah blah blah. The setup for disclosure in whatever that means, because remember, if we're talking about I would say maybe common eschatology, at least for the Canary Cry people, is this disclosure precedes the one world religion. Okay. It's not disclosure for no reason. It's not disclosure and then Armageddon happens. It's disclosure, and then that brings the one world religion that sets the stage for the Antichrist, et cetera, et cetera. So oftentimes in eschatology, people kind of easily leave out a lot of important steps.
Yeah.
But it feels like the stage is being perfectly set and people are being invited into it. with them being under the misconception that they're doing so by their own choice.
Yeah.
I am going to choose to do DMT and get into this. I have all this secret knowledge from paying attention online. I'm going to continue my journey into secret knowledge. When the stage is so perfectly set that it's a very powerful social engineering operation, that if suddenly you think it's your idea that you want to do DMT and like meet the machine elves, you're sadly mistaken. That is not your idea. You're doing exactly what they're trying to lure you into doing.
Yeah. And I'm noticing the collapse of the separation, but in like a divide and conquer type of way where, with JD Vance saying his Christianity informs him that all these aliens are demons.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, you have, well, they're just machine elves, or it's the all-seeing whatever thing that the guy was talking about. Yeah, some kind of deity or some kind of supernatural or extra natural or extra dimensional being. The conversation is collapsing where you're going to have believers say, oh, it's just all demons, and then you're going to have all these other people who say, well, no, this explains God. So, so now you have that divide and conquer going, but at the same time, you're right. The tension that this creates culturally, this is at the forefront of culture when it comes to our vice president giving an opinion about who these aliens are, and centimillionaire live streaming these experiences, this entheogenic experiences. It's at the forefront of culture, and so now when you have an event, when you have something that is more or less a disclosure type of event, where something, they appear in the sky or whatever they plan, blue beam, however it looks, you're going to have these competing views, but you're also going to have this moment of collapse of all of it. It's going to focus on that event, and it will probably deceive a lot of people to think that, oh, we figured out this God thing. We figured out this religion thing, and we have an explanation now. And it's what the DMT people were saying in this regard, but there's good guys and bad guys there. And so the Christians were kind of right when they're talking about demons. So I don't know, it's a perfect setup to bring everyone under this one world religious type of umbrella that collapses the monotheistic faiths in a certain way. And certainly those are eschatological things that the Bible lays out more or less, and
collapses them into one. There's a couple
into one thing, yeah.
Collapse, because they could collapse as in fall apart, or they can collapse into one, like this gravity brings all the Abrahamic religions into one thing. And I think the fact that at least the undertone of what we pointed out with Brian Johnson and the Levites and the priestly protocols and things, that's very much on purpose to draw this connection between old time temple Judaism, and which a lot of Christians would consider, sort of the spiritual ancestry of Christianity, of course, just following that, temple Judaism, rabbinical Judaism, Christ as the Messiah into Christianity. It's really this sort of like masterful crafting of the message where you can go, oh, look, see, it's so similar to the Levites and the priestly protocols in the Old Testament. So this must be what was happening. They must have been,
right.
It's so similar that there has to be a connection, which in reality, it could just be a brilliant counterfeit of, the devil going, okay, if I make it look like that's what the priests of the Old Testament were doing, then I'll be able to scoop up some Christians, whether they're new Christians or whether they're on the fence or new agey or whatever. It's this, there's a permission there for someone who would consider themselves to be Christian, especially, a Christian who's like, I practice what the early Christians practice, I don't know, something like that, like the desire to have your Christianity look as close to old biblical standards as possible.
Right. Yeah. And there's, I'm holding up the book here, Mystery Babylon by Chris White. He talks about how Mystery Babylon in Revelation 17 and 18 reveals how it's very much all the items and the spices and all the different things that get brought into the temple. It represents that Old Testament style of worship, and the Old Testament temple ethics and procedures and everything. And right now, I do find it interesting that we have this very much a tension with culturally, this tension with political Israel. And I mean, I've participated in my personal opinions about that in the political sphere. But you have your political and you have your religious Zionism as part of that. And a lot of people are kind of looking at it going, no, this is crazy. This is madness. But if you start fusing those Old Testament practices with modern entheogenic principles, then you're going to get a whole bunch of people be like, oh, I get it now. I understand it now. Like, that's why it seems so weird. It's because they were just tapping into this realm that we just, we're just starting to understand with these plants and these substances and whatnot. And so you can see how they're doing that divide and conquer so well. When I say they, I mean, really the evil one, so to speak. But it's very clever in that way because it allows people to have tension and then resolve that tension. And that's the moment where the deception can be really laid on thick for the entire world.
One of the great things is, and this is where Christians really got to be on their A game, because remember, it's really easy. You see a lot of people. I mean, look, I get it. We've talked to them. They're our friends, where their Christianity, their MO, their desire to have their Christianity look as much like Old Testament temple Judaism as possible. And they consider that to be more legit because it's as Old Testament as they can. But remember, the key to the entire Christian faith is that Jesus fulfilled the law, that Jesus was the new covenant. So if you're a Christian,
we won't have any anti-Semitic talk on this show, okay?
If you're a Christian, and look, I get it, and I love having this conversation too, because I see a lot of the things that they see, and I understand the desire to like have your Christianity be as legit as possible, but you got to remember the reason why you don't want to get sucked into the Abrahamic one world religion where if we just act like the Levites of the Old Testament, then we can get
more pleasing to God or something.
Yeah, right. Jesus fulfilled the law. The new covenant was specifically to set us free from the obligation of the temple Judaism.
Which we couldn't achieve on our own accord anyway.
Exactly. We could not achieve it. It was specifically in vain when Jesus came with the new covenant. And so if one is, and look, it's a really subtle thing. I'm not even going to, bash any Christians necessarily who want their Christianity to look as early.
You're talking about the Hebrew roots type of movement.
That's part of it. Yeah, that kind of thing. But, even some just evangelicals, everybody wants their church to look like the early church, and then to up the next guy comes in to one up it and say, well, my Christianity looks even older before the early church. It looks like temple Judaism. That's how I know it's legit. But the whole point of Christ was to come rewrite the contract and set us free from that temple Judaism. And that's really easy to miss. It's really easy to miss that. And fall into this kind of little trap. It's a very genius little trap here.
Yep.
And it would tie together everything. It would tie together the aliens. It would tie together everything would suddenly make sense in the natural, in the material, if this were the case.
Yeah. I think we might have, I'm not going to say we are the only ones, but we were definitely pretty early in the conversation, at least in the last couple decades, seeing the connection with transhumanism, which is science and technology advancing, with psychedelics, which is this sort of, extra natural way to approach the unseen, and eschatology, how it all fuses together, and the alien topic, and seeing the connections with all of it as one big thing coming, the one big deception. And just to land the plane here, Revelation 18, this is towards the end of the chapter, starting in verse 23. This is after the destruction of Mystery Babylon. It says, the light of a lamp will never shine in you again, and the voices of the bride and the bridegroom will never call out in you again, for your merchants were the great ones of the earth. I believe the merchants, the great ones of the earth, are currently running things at the moment because all the nations were deceived by your sorcery. And that word sorcery, of course, pharmakia. And so this is, it's sort of at the center of our thesis, Basil, going back 14 years now as part of having this conversation and bringing up these topics that, of course, the church at the time certainly wasn't really talking about. I would imagine it's not really talked about in the context of how we do it as much today either. But at least the elements are starting to be brought up by your JD Vances and by your, centimillionaires that are doing live streams with entheogens. The conversation is becoming more in front of you when it comes to culture. So longtime Canarians, this is sort of, I don't know, the next few years is what we've been prepping for, in a sense. We've been studying, and then now we get to come out of the cave and preach the gospel in this new context and keep the real thing, the main thing. And that doesn't change, but the context by which we can relate to current contemporary culture to deliver that message. That's why I was big, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I started yelling about, hey, we got to update our Christian apologetics, because look, these professors of philosophy, they did a great job tearing down atheism, but we can't still be arguing about atheism right now because all these atheists are going on trips on DMT and ayahuasca and all this stuff. We got to be able to have that conversation from that spiritual perspective. Otherwise, we're just making old, and nothing wrong with the old curmudgeonly arguments. They're still true arguments for the existence of God and whatnot. But just in terms of where the culture is and where it's going, if we don't have that conversation, especially as the microchips are going into the brains and stuff, you got a whole generation of people that are going to have that. That's like locking yourself into the pharmakia. You won't even be able to get out of it necessarily if these computing machines are able to effectively, grab a hold of your brain chemistry at a very tangible physical level. So things are going to get even weirder, I would imagine. And all the weirdness is pretty normal around here in the Canary, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say we have some executive producers to thank.
Yeah,
do you want
let's
to
do it.
mention the moon, or should we save that?
Let's just go back. Let's thank some producers. I think we have someone to Dame, and then we'll go back and start again with the moon thing and the missing scientists and all that. We'll pick up there. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are on the value for value model. You'll notice we have no advertisements, no sponsorships, no platform partnerships. We are so grateful that the Lord has been able to keep us going for 14 years now, explicitly through the participation of our producers in the value for value model. We feel that involving corporations and participating in the broad popular funding mechanisms, perhaps even the worship of mammon in keeping the show alive, is not for us. And so we eschew all corporate support in all of its forms for the value for value model, which puts the, I would say, participation, puts perhaps even the responsibility of keeping us alive on each and every one of us to produce the show with our time, our talents, or our treasure, whatever it is that the Lord's given us to put towards his kingdom work. We are here to invite you to participate in the value for value model and keep the show alive. You can do that with your time, your talent, or your treasure. You can go to canarycry.support to learn all about it. And it's easy peasy. It's very simple. If you get any value from the show, if you're new to the show, if you've been getting value for a while, when the Lord beckons you to do so, just consider what's the show, what value has the show brought to you, and you put that value on it yourself. You decide between you and God what that means. If it's supporting the show financially, you can go to canarycry.support. If it's you want to create art or music or jingles for the show, you can go to canarycry.art. What did I just said canarycry.art twice. Canarycry.support to support financially. Canarycry.art, we can upload your art to the show. We'd love to feature it on the show. Or if you want to come in and support with your time, if you want to volunteer to help us out with projects or regular stuff, you can go to canarycry.support. scroll all the way down to the bottom, fill out a form there, and tell us how you'd like to help the show. The executive producers, these are people who come in, they support the show for $100 or more for any individual show episode like this. And we want to thank them. We didn't thank producers on Wednesday, so we've got a full 7 days of executive producers to thank.
All right. Yep. Let's
I
thank
want
him.
to start out with executive producer Rebecca T.
Rebecca T. Thank you.
Yeah, who came in twice. She came in last Wednesday and came in today as an executive producer for 102.02, 102.02.
102.02. All right.
And
Thank you.
last Wednesday, she came in for 2345, 2345. Very generous.
Nice.
Fun.
Thank you.
And that puts Rebecca T on a 10-episode streak,
Oh my
which
goodness.
means last episode was her 9th episode streak, which means
she was lit.
Where'd you find this? Hey, you lit now.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Thank you, Rebecca T. Executive
Thank you,
producer
Rebecca T.
Rebecca T. She's lit. Next up, we've got executive producer David F.
David F. Thank you.
David F. comes in for a nice round number, which is a good reminder for anybody who wants to produce the show. If you produce the show in an amount that is a nice round number on the 10 or the 5, that's you telling us you'd prefer we do not disclose the amount. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you can be like Rebecca T. Put some funky, have some fun with the number. 2345, you can put 33 cents, 77 cents, 1111, whatever fun you want to have with it. That's you telling us you don't mind us disclosing it. David F. comes in and executive produces with a note that says, "Challenge accepted, Toph."
Ooh.
David G. Oh, this is Sir David G. Thank you very much,
Oh.
Sir David G. Sorry, I got your name wrong there. Sir David G. So there you go. That means that Sir David G is a supply dropper or T-shirt council member, and he comes in for an executive producer on top of his monthly support, which goes towards the Toph Challenge, which if you are a supply dropper or T-shirt council member, you're already supporting us regularly. Thank you very much. But if you come in and also executive produce, every 3 of you who executive produce, Toph will be sponsoring one D Moocher with a whole quarter of the supply drop. So it works out that when you executive produce, there's an extra 33% value added on top of that, thanks to Toph. Thank you very much, Toph.
All right. So this
actually it's more than that because it's a full month of the supply drop, which means that it's a 100% bonus. Your executive producership is doubled instantly. That's great. So I had that math all wrong. Yeah, you can double your executive producership if you're a supply dropper and or a T-shirt council member and you executive produce. Thank you, Sir Toph, for the Sir Toph Challenge, or Toph. I don't know if he's a Sir. And thank you, executive producer Sir David G.
Sir David G, Knight of the Third Coast.
That's
Thank you very much.
And he
Appreciate
calls in a Canary Cry Clubhouse all the time too. Cool guy.
All right. Yeah.
Of course, we have executive producer Sir Alex Protocol V2 Baron of the Breen Protocol coming in. And he comes in twice. He came in last Wednesday as well for $100 and 33 cents.
Illuminatus!
Times 2.
He's on a 474 episode streak and a 128 executive producer streak, officially setting the new world record for executive producer streaks. That one also counts towards the Toph Challenge. Thank you, Sir.
Very nice.
We have executive producer Kathy B comes in.
Kathy B, thank you.
Kathy B comes in for a nice round number. I did not see a note from Kathy B, but thank you very much, Kathy B.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy.
We have executive producer Baron ARIRL. Sorry, Baroness.
Baroness, yes.
Baroness ARIRL, who comes in for $302.
Ooh, very nice.
you.
I like it. That's amazing.
Yeah, ARIRL, very generous. Also counts towards the Toph Challenge. Thank you very much, Baroness.
Hey, nice.
This is a fun one, and a big congratulations to executive producer Mrs. Tinfoil Hat Man.
Hey, all right.
coming in for the executive producer streak, executive producership. She's on a 200 episode streak. This is episode 200
Wow.
of producership.
That's quite the accomplishment.
It is big day.
Next episode, she'll be at 201, event 201.
Yeah, that's where the big fun.
That's where they plan the pandemics and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I am a little concerned that I missed her. I didn't write down what her producership was for. Oh, come on. Can I find it? Come on, baby. Where is it? Oh, no.
We wouldn't have this problem if we were operating on the
here it is. Found it.
Okay, there it is.
She comes in for $111.11.
Oh, 11. Thank you.
11. And sends a note here and sends Isaiah 61:11. For as the soil makes the sprout come up and a garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations. Isaiah 61:11. Finally made it to the round table. I'm sending an email with my records. Yeehaw!
That's amazing.
That's right.
Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman's been doing the under $7.77 for a while. So this
Long
is
time. That is a big
long
day.
time. Yeah,
Hit
very
Damehood
cool.
and a 200 episode streak all at once. I have her new Dame name here. We're going to Dame her immediately after the executive producership. So congratulations, Mrs. Tinfoil.
Awesome.
Okay, last but not least, we've got executive producer Sir Jacob Highline Haas, a knight of the Issachar Pursuit.
Thank you, Sir. What was such a long name?
Sir Jacob Highline.
Sir Jacob. Thank you, Sir Jacob. Oh, right. Sir Jacob. Yes.
Comes in for
the thing.
A nice round number here, and a note mentions Toph. So this one counts towards the Sir Toph. Oh, and so did Mr. Tinfoil Hatman. A lot of responses to the Toph challenge. Thank you,
Toph challenge.
Producers. Says, and Kansas City meetup. He says March 25th. I think he meant April 25th. So we got a Kansas City meetup, April 25th. Meet at Kelly's Westport Inn at 12:45 p.m. And in the evening, we'll head to a venue nearby to attend a Demon Hunter concert. Canary is welcome to hang out or rock out. Look for 2 guys in CCNT t-shirts. No RSVP needed.
Nice.
Very fun.
This is on brand for Sir Jacob, because Sir Jacob Highline Haas and Knight of the Issachar Pursuit was knighted on episode 666. So,
yes,
yeah, demon hunting. It's in the blood.
Somebody's got to hunt those demons. And in fact, Sir Jacob actually left us a speak pipe message that now is a good time to play.
Let's hear from Sir Jacob. Spinning wheel, spinning wheel, spinning wheel. Hold on, I might have to refresh it. Sir Jacob. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Sir Jacob.
Take 3.
There we go.
Hello, Canarians. This is Sir Jacob Highline Haas, Knight of the Issachar Pursuit. I mentioned this in a producership, but I'm also leaving a recording to invite all Kansas City area Canarians to a Kansas City meetup. Going to be put on by myself and Dustin S., a supply dropper. We're going to meet at Kelly's Westport Inn at about 12:45 and get some lunch and hang out. And then afterwards, we're going to head over to a nearby venue. And we're going to go to a Demon Hunter concert. They're touring for their newest record. So come on out if you want to hang out and get some tickets if you want to rock out with us. When you get to, there's no need to RSVP. Just when you get to Kelly's Westport Inn, look for the guys wearing Canary Cry News Talk t-shirts.
All right.
Lord's blessings, and think outside the cage.
Boom.
Everyone. All right. Bye.
Thank you very much, Sir Jacob. There you go, folks. April 25th in Kansas City. Demon Hunter concert. You got the details there. We will make sure to put that over on canarycrymeetups.com so you can get all those details again.
Yep. I need to listen to some Demon Hunter. I had a couple of people from church tell me about Demon Hunter the other day, so it's been popping up a lot recently. It's
been a while. They're on tour, baby.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we're gonna Dame Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman in just a moment, but I do want to mention the Sir Ike supply drop giveaway is still going on. All you got to do is go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify or Audible or wherever you can leave a rating and a review. Thank you. We've had more people do that this last week. Appreciate it. Just leave a rating and a review. Take a screenshot of your rating and a review and email it to canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com, and you'll be entered in a drawing. Sir Ike will let us when the next one of those is. You'll get a big old fat box of supply drop inventory from the past few years. He describes them as mega boxes. So it's a really great opportunity. It's great to have so many ratings and reviews coming in. We don't pitch that very often, so this is extremely helpful. Helps out the show, and you can get some cool stuff. So thank you, Sir Ike, for that. And just to mention, of course, you're gonna want to go to CageRattlerCoffee.com.
CageRattlerCoffee.com. Yes, this one.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. It's the best coffee there is. That's what I'm told. That's my experience for sure. Gons and I are exclusively on Cage Rattler Coffee every morning. Keeps the show running. And this is coffee for Canarians by Canarians. It is sourced, GMO free, organic from all over the world and roasted in super small batches. Everybody says it's the best, and it's only available to Canarians. And so you're going to buy the coffee anyway. Stop sending your money to the big evil corporations. Instead, you can support the show, support other Canarians, and get the best possible product you can. It's a very special opportunity for all of us. And you can still use the code SPRING, SPRING, to get $7 off. No order minimum. They got the Coffee of the Month Club over there. You got beans from all over the world. Get your Nephilim Hunter Dark Roast, your Emu Wrangler Medium Roast. That Emu Wrangler got damaged. Emu Wrangling.
I was gonna say
that's why I didn't drink my Emu Wrangler that day. Apparently,
that's what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta have an Emu Wrangler, or you're gonna
so
sprain
there
your
you
ankle.
Parallel economy, folks. This is how communities like ours is not only benefiting the show, because a portion of every sale comes to support the show, but it's also benefiting other Canarians, and it's benefiting each and one of us who can break free from the slavery of monolithic coffee companies that hate everything that we believe in. So there you go. CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Yep.
Use code SPRING. Okay. We mentioned the TOEF Challenge. TOEF Challenge is still going. If you're a Supply Dropper or T-shirt council member, go ahead, executive produce the show, and some demoochers will be get a whole quarter of Supply Drop sponsored. Great way to double your executive producership instantly. Thank you very much, TOEF, for that. And it's time to go to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. God.
Oh yeah, I gotta get over there. I gotta pull out my katana here. It's this is great because I've been wanting to do it for Japanese X, doing it in the rounds here.
There you go.
Ah, nice and sharp.
There you go. I'll use the big one today. My foot's feeling a little better. I'll use the big sword here. There we go. All right. We want to call up Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman. Please step forward to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where we have a seat for you. Thanks to your generous support in the amount of $1,000 or more, we are proud to pronounce you Dame Tinfoil Hat, Keeper of the Seeds. Please join us at the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, where we have the belt of truthful truthiness, breastplate of righteousness, custom fit Birkenstocks to carry forth the gospel of peace, the shield of ferocious faith, the helmet of substantiating salvation, and the supernatural sword of the Spirit. And of course, Samurai babies, infinitely cute kitties for cuddling. And if you're hungry, we have Fancy Feast, Wet Food, Carved Cosmo, the Crisper Cow, and of course, fried wormicorns. Welcome to the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, Dame Tinfoil Hat, Keeper of the Seas. The crowd goes wild. Congratulations, Dame Tinfoil Hat, Keeper of the Seeds. You've been a producer for so long, keeping that streak going, a great member of the community. We're so honored to have you.
Oh, that's a little loud. Sorry.
If anybody's new, you've never heard of the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, it is a group of illustrious and noble producers who have produced the show in the amount of $1,000 or more. This could be all at once. This could be over many years, whatever works for you. But once you hit that threshold, you have a special seat at the round table. You're given a protectorate. You're given a knight name or a dame name like that. And everybody picks you up and carries you on their shoulders down the street in the chat and in real life. So be prepared for that, Dame Tinfoil Hat, Keeper of the Seeds. God bless us, everyone.
All right. This is
all
amazing.
right.
Love it.
Yeah,
I love knighting or daming our producers.
It's very exciting.
It's a great upgrade for them. So
and we'll make sure that you make it on the website, canarycryroundtable.com, or find the canarycrynewstalk.com/roundtable. You've got all the knights and dames listed there, and you will be one of them.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. We got anything else?
I think we're ready to get back to the show, Guns.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We were talking about aliens and UFOs. Let's touch back just real quick on that before we move on here.
Aliens.
This is a clip coming from. Let me double check who this individual is. I had it pulled up a second ago, but I was started to do the producers and I lost my thing. Okay, this is from Representative Eric Burleson. He's a Republican U.S. Congressman from Missouri. And he was on Fox News, and we talked about the guy who went missing recently, and the internet has been picking up on the story of all these scientists in the last year who have started to disappear, whether they're rocket scientists or Air Force generals, whoever they might be. And now Fox News is reporting on it, and we got something else going on.
General McCaslin apparently walked out of his home, left all of his devices, and never came back. And Monica Reza, she was on a hike as well and mysteriously disappeared. And I've heard of others. We've already sent a letter. When I first came in, I heard of another gentleman, and I'll keep that name out of respect. I sent a letter to the FBI investigating the suspicious suicide of another individual who had worked alongside, other whistleblowers like David Grush and Jake Barber who had come forward. So their colleague is mysteriously committed suicide. We've already sent the letter to the FBI to investigate that, and that is an ongoing investigation.
Okay, so he just dropped another little nuance to this, or maybe added to the list. This is an alleged whistleblower, a colleague of David Grush. And who's the other gentleman that they mentioned there? Jake Barber. Who have been whistleblowers, and you're talking about the general. I'm talking about this guy specifically who was at least according to Eric Burleson was a colleague to them, to the whistleblowers. He has mysteriously committed suicide. So something is definitely up with these scientists gone missing. I don't, the part that really gives me low confidence is, well, we sent a letter to the FBI to get to the bottom of this, and it's like, well, I don't know that that's gonna really cut it. I mean, the FBI might be taking in the data on how to cover it up more so than really get to the bottom of what happened. But certainly this conversation is getting out there, Basil. I mean, it's on Fox News.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, this again, the social control. This is where they want they're building up to something. I mean, it's just perfect. The timing of all of it, building up to the narrative on the mainstream. Look, I know we keep saying it, but it's just really weird. It's sign of the times. And I mean, God bless those who have been disappeared or mysteriously unalived or whatever. but to just be inserting this into just public history now, inviting everyone to be conspiracy theorists. That's when you know that the conspiracy theorist thing is no longer a sort of, I don't know, rebellion against the mainstream or something. It is the mainstream.
And we discussed in the context of Iran and the Straits of Hormuz and the war over there and everything, how we haven't really had a false flag event to really garner the patriotism of America, to bring everyone together to go fight a war. But I'm noticing that there's a lot of space talk happening recently.
Space. Wanna go to space?
And my biggest fear, Basil, is as we start doing these moon missions and all this kind of stuff, who knows if it's legit or whatever, because NASA's going back to the moon. Elon Musk wants to create a moon launcher to go deeper into space and stuff. I am concerned, and I feel we are long overdue for a Voyager situation. And if you guys know, this is I was a little bit too young for the Voyager, but people that are a little bit older than I was, they would remember, all the kids in class, they got together around the,
wasn't it Discovery?
Was it Discovery? I thought it was called the Voyager, or maybe you're right. The Discovery Challenger. That's what it was. The Challenger.
There it is.
Yeah. There it is. Where they got together, they're watching this rocket take off with these astronauts, and to the horror of everybody in the nation, the rocket exploded and allegedly killed all the people on board. Now, of course, the conspiracy theorists will point out how there are pictures of these alleged astronauts as old people from a few years ago, and I remember seeing that whole rabbit hole. But it just makes me wonder: are we due for a more cosmic type of false flag? Not so much the nation state type of false flag, but more space related or cosmic related. That would certainly allow for new technologies to be released or whatever it may be, especially if there's a space real estate race, quote unquote, with China and all these things. So in that context, NASA is going back up. They're doing their launch to the moon. This is like a test mission. Allegedly, they're going to slingshot around the moon. I talked about this last episode on the solo show when the guy was on some news show saying humans are going deeper into space than ever before. And what the reality was that they're slinging around the moon and they're going a few hundred kilometers allegedly further than the last time we were there, allegedly. But there's something different going on with this one. First of all, they're launching on April 1st. Okay. So I guess April Fools, it's a big joke for everybody, but also cute plushie going up there, the Artemis 2 astronauts. So here's a little clip about that.
So why are astronauts, 4 grown-ups, taking a toy with them to space? It's not just a toy, it's a doll, it's a plush toy. Well, there's a reason for that. Once it gets to space, this stuffed plush toy has a superpower. It flies. Well, it doesn't exactly fly, but it floats. It is something of a gauge for the astronauts to let them know they've entered microgravity, and they can now unbuckle and float in their Orion capsule. It's a kind of fun, cool way of letting them know they've left Earth's gravity. So NASA had a contest. They got 2,600 entries from students, grades K through 12, and a second grader from California won the contest. Plush toy is called Rise. It's a cute name, and it has a bit of a space history. Back in 1968, Apollo 8 took a very famous image called Earthrise. So famous, so iconic, it became a symbol of the environmental movement. Well, this plush toy, Rise, is supposed to be an homage to Earthrise. It's sweet, it's fun, it has space history.
There you go. So see, this I'm worried a little, Basil, because they're drawing in the kids. They had a contest, millions of children across America are submitting their idea for some cute plushie to go up there with them. And now they got the attention of all the young people. Man, I hope nothing bad happens, but it's just one of those things that I hope it's just like nothing goes wrong on the sound.
Oh, you mean involving the children of the country, so everybody will be paying attention, something horrible
Yeah,
happens.
something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, I don't want anybody to get hurt or anybody to die or anything like that. I'm praying everything will be just fine. And at the very the very worst, maybe there's a fire on the set, the whole scenery there. But
yeah,
that's
you're
not all.
talking about the sort of trauma triggers that are
Yeah.
targeted at children. We've seen over the years.
Yeah. So the other thing about this plushie, I thought that there was a clip about it, or at least the guy mentioned it in there. But let's see. Let me try to find it real quick because there was a little not a microchip. They put something in there. Gee, I forget what it was called. But they put a disc, not a disc. What am I? What is this? 1990. It doesn't say here, but basically they got the names of all several. I saw millions, but maybe it's not millions. A bunch of names. They put it on a little drive, and they put the drive inside Rise. So there's also that there's incentive. There's just incentive and attention of young people with the cute little plushie there. So something to pay attention to. Also, just mysteriously in recent news, NASA was officially investigating the cause of a mysterious condition that suddenly left an astronaut unable to speak.
Oh, yeah.
This is coming from the Debrief. And I won't bore you with the article, but basically, and NASA reported, and they're doing a medical review of an astronaut who had to come down from the International Space Station because something happened to him. Mike Fink, 59-year-old, retired Air Force colonel, veteran astronaut who served several multiple missions in the past, had been a crew member who experienced a condition that prompted the emergency action. Although at the time, NASA officials had not revealed any further details. Basically, he just couldn't talk anymore.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Did he see something?
20 minutes, he lost his ability to talk. This was the mysterious event of them having to bring down the astronauts earlier rather than later. Lots of theories about what may have happened there. That's a pretty weird one.
Yeah, considering that we have this not voice to skull, but what's the technology that was mentioned recently regarding some
Havana syndrome.
Havana syndrome, thank you. Yeah, the Havana syndrome situation. Space Havana syndrome.
The dude's 59 years old. That's interesting. I mean, look, God bless all of our very strong and powerful, mature people, but it used to be that the astronauts were like 24 or something. Space used to be a young man's game. This guy must be a tank, dude.
Well, maybe they got to get the generation that really believed in space to get up there nowadays. The young people, they're not getting the education. They're not getting all this. So yeah, some strangeness going on there. I don't know if this is a geopolitical thing. Maybe it was just a medical condition or something like that. But what Brian Johnson would love to do, I bet, would be go in a spaceship, go to space, live stream a DMT session from space in weightlessness. I'm sure that's in the plan somewhere.
Yeah.
But there you go. I mean, that's some space news. Just pay attention tomorrow as they allegedly get up there. Their rockets are launching early in the morning, and I don't recall how long it's supposed to take. I think a few hours to get to the moon and slingshot around. And I don't know, man.
It's gotta be more than that. I think it's like a week or something.
Does it take a week to get there?
I think so. It's really far away. It's like
is it?
250,000 miles.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah, they say I think it's like 280,000 miles or something to the moon. It's definitely more than a few hours.
It's a 10-day mission. Let's see. Let me see if I can get alleged things here.
252,700 miles away.
Wow. Okay, so that is
average. Okay, well, it moves around apparently because the moon, the elliptical orbit, anywhere from 238,000 to 252,000.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they don't get hit by an asteroid or something on the way up there, with all the stuff falling.
A lot of asteroids, more fireballs, more asteroids.
Yeah.
It was also just reported that there was a new meteor strike on the moon. There's a new crater that was there.
Ooh.
Lots of stuff going on up there. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. That's some quick space news there. Also, news of a bunker.
Welcome to Bad Basil's bunker.
Oh, that's the wrong bunker jingle. Here's the real bunker.
Get to the bunker! The debunker bunker.
This is according to USA Today. Oh, this is also a Trump story. So let me make sure that we properly introduce our president, Donald J. Trump. Let's see, here we go.
We will launch a new age.
Man, the golden age is really here. Trump defends White House ballroom as shed for secret military complex beneath. Did they change the headline? I guess maybe they didn't. Other headlines were talking about an underground bunker, literally. Here's the clip of Trump talking about it. Now it's hilarious because he's holding up these big pictures of the mock-ups of the ballroom, and he's doing this on the Air Force One, so the sound and everything's not great. But he says something interesting in here, and let me just play the clip for you.
From the architects, a lot of people are talking about how beautiful the ballroom is. For 150 years, they've wanted to build a ballroom at the White House. Here's another view. This is coming from right opposite the Treasury building. Beautiful Capitol. Here's a view from on the south.
Really got a lot of pictures. I know. This is as loud as I can get it.
Fires there basically leading down to the ground. Now the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom, and that's under construction, and we're doing very well. So we're ahead of schedule. That's part of it. And the ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing.
Okay, so they're building a giant shed under the ballroom. The military is, and that's going to protect them from drones and other things, he says. Other things. I don't know if that's missiles. I don't know if
making
that's
a bunker. Is that the deal? There's a bunker under the ballroom.
There's a massive military complex, is what the exact words of our president, underneath the ballroom. And if you missed it, the quote there was, now the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom, and that's under construction, and we're doing very well, he told supporters or reporters.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and it was it was discussed. I mean, way back when they were talking about the ballroom, it was like the conspiracy theory. Oh, he's building the ballroom because he's building a bunker. Unnamed sources say. So it's kind of fun that he's just saying it, I guess.
Well,
I mean,
he's mad because a
imagine...
lawsuit made it force the information out there or something.
Is that what it was? That's interesting.
That's what he's. I think that's why he's mad at the lawsuit. He called it a stupid lawsuit, and I believe it was because of maybe he was told, "Hey, don't tell him about the military shed." He called it a shed. I'm sure it's a much more advanced thing than just a shed down there. But he said, "quote It was supposed to be secret, but it became secret because of people that are really unpatriotic saying things, but doesn't matter. It's going to be great. It's going to be great." That's what's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a silly idea that you would do any construction on the White House at all that didn't include some crazy, facility.
I suppose it is a target. Yeah, it's a target.
There's
for
like
sure.
missile launchers on the roof and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is like a 007. It's like a Batman. It's the Batcave.
Yeah,
they're building underneath there just in case. And, some people have said that, hey, there's already an underground, a deep underground military base beneath the White House, and this is just disclosure. They're just letting people know that the thing that's already there, we're just connecting to the larger underground tunneling network that exists already, and so this is and then Trump can pretend like he's mad because it was supposed to be secret, but look at him, he's draining the swamp and revealing all the beautiful secrets. But that's not all, Basil, because recently Palantir CEO Alex Karp moved to his billionaire bunker months before moving headquarters to Miami. There seems to be a trend here of billionaires moving into bunkers. Here's Palantir.
Special thanks
thanks to our sponsor, Palantir.
Artificial intelligence. Surveillance state.
A report claims that this move came long before Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and other technology executives began purchasing property in the city. According to public records seen by Bloomberg, Karp bought a mansion in Miami Beach in June 2025, around 7 months before Palantir announced plans to move its headquarters to Miami. Palantir, one of the biggest Silicon Valley-born companies, yada, yada, yada. So basically, it's interesting because they're calling it the Bloomberg billionaires. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're calling it the billionaire bunker because it seems there are some other billionaires who are, I don't know, building bunkers in certain areas together.
Yeah, we've heard of course, Zuckerberg famously and some others got their bunkers, but there's a whole neighborhood in Florida. I think it's called like Billionaire Row or something, where it's just a whole neighborhood of gigantic mansions with gigantic bunkers where all the billionaires go. It's like this little apocalyptic haven for the billionaires.
Yeah, and it's always been the case that we've wondered why the billionaires are building bunkers in the first place. Didn't Mark Zuckerberg have one in Hawaii or something? Was that a bunker that he was building, or was it just a property?
Yeah, no, he has one. It's a whole compound, but it includes a big bunker. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we know that this has been a thing. Biblically speaking, of course, there's the Revelation 6 reference. Let me pull that up real quick. And at the end of the chapter there, starting in verse 15, it says, "Then the kings of the earth, the nobles, the commanders, the rich, the mighty, and every slave and free man," I guess that's the people, the peons, "hid in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and the rocks, 'Fall on us and hide us from the face of the one seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to withstand it?'" So upon Jesus' return, it's funny. It's like, hey, we need to have bunkers. We got to protect ourselves from the drones, the Iranian rockets, maybe some asteroids, and some kind of cataclysmic event, the pole shift, something like that. But also, Jesus returning. Maybe that's the biggest one that they're afraid of. So, no surprises there. That they're all the billionaires have a bunker neighborhood in Miami. Why Miami? Is it close to the portal? Is it close to the Bermuda Triangle where the portal is to get to the inner Earth or something, or some other location? Maybe Mars.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's exactly it. Thank you for entertaining my crazy ideas. Okay, so there you go. That's it.
Before we jump to the next story, I'm seeing here is reported 2 days ago, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, broke law by spending $19,000 in campaign cash on ketamine therapy.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go. Pharmakia all the way, baby. You got
I know.
Politicians using campaign dollars on ketamine therapy.
Yep. Horse tranquilizers.
Great.
Yeah. This is
Also
great.
people tranquilizer. It's used a lot in anesthesiology. Yeah.
Ketamine?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was always told it was horse tranquilizer. At least when I was in high school.
That's been the fun. Yeah, that's
ketamine was a thing. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like how ivermectin's a horse dewormer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back to Palantir real quick. Speaking of substances, this is fortune.com here. Palantir and other tech companies are stocking offices with nicotine products to increase worker productivity.
Woo!
There's
it's not the 80s anymore.
We got Palantir employees hopped up on nicotine. We got AOC on ketamine. We got millionaires on DMT live streaming it. I mean, we got our president on McDonald's. I mean, man, the world is really just, please, Lord Jesus, come back soon. It's starting to fall apart here. Speaking of Trump, one more thing, and then we got a fun little story to end it all here, or maybe a couple stories. I don't know. I'm looking at the time. This is interesting, Basil. According to PBS News, the Treasury Department plans to put Trump's signature on all new U.S. paper currency in break with tradition. And we have talked about the magical spell, or maybe the hypnotic spell, of Trump's Sharpie when he signs executive orders and stuff. You can hear that.
The audio, the unmistakable audio of Trump signing his name with a marker.
Yes, a Sharpie. And so now immortalized on the paper currency, the fiat money. The U.S. Treasury Department plans to put President Donald Trump's signature on all new U.S. paper currency, the agency announced on Thursday. The move would be the first for a sitting president, since traditionally U.S. paper currencies carries the signatures of the Treasury Secretary and the Treasurer, not the president. Basil, I know we're moving to a quasi-CBDC digital economy and the crypto and the blockchain and all that. Is this kind of like the signal of like, yeah, I don't know about the paper currency. It may not be really worth anything in a little while. Just let him put his signature all over the paper money there. It's all gonna,
Or
and he
maybe
ended the pennies.
Yeah, maybe there's a plan. Maybe he's hoping that putting his signature on it will have some sort of like esoteric effect that the dollar becomes stronger or something. He keeps talking about how he wants to make the dollar strong. And in the long-term plan, of course, there's the petrodollar issue. But all the CBDCs, a lot of people are talking about how CBDCs will replace the dollar. Trump has said, and when you look at the Genius Act and the stablecoin legislation, you'll see that the stablecoin system is supposed to be backed up by the dollar. Like you use treasuries, you use bonds to actually give value to your stablecoin. So it's one thing, it seems like a pretty common misconception that the stablecoins are supposed to replace the dollar, but at least in the way that he is presenting it and how it shows up in the legislation, it looks like the stablecoin thing might be some sort of scheme to actually save the dollar in one way or another. You know, who knows how it'll turn out, but at least that's what they say.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to consider all the different possibilities with that. And I've been saying for the whole CBDC conversation, with the stablecoin conversation specifically, that stablecoins are effectively CBDCs. They're just not called, they're not controlled by the central banks per se, but they are controlled by private companies. And so this is a public-private partnership. It's no different than the military-industrial complex, the government partnering with Boeing or Lockheed Martin and creating different missiles and crafts and stuff like that. It's very similar because those companies are under the direction of the government. And if the government wants something done, if they want to keep their contracts, they're going to have to abide by the rules or whatever demands the government has. So in that sense, it's very much the same thing. You know, with the CBDCs, everything's on a blockchain. If they want to block wallets, if they want to, reversing transaction might be a little bit of a harder thing, but at the very least they can, turn off the money turn off the stablecoin dollars in certain wallets and stuff like that. And we're seeing the move towards stablecoins from all the different companies. PayPal, different blockchains have their own stablecoin. So we're going to continue to see that develop. And yeah, I think you're right that it's sort of a way to extend the life of the dollar. It's like trans dollar now. We haven't gotten to post dollar yet. We got to get through trans dollar, just like we're going to transhumanism before we get to post humanity. And so it's going to be like this technological hybrid of the paper cash. But at least on the paper cash side, you're going to get Trump's signature on there. And I'm really starting to think that, Trump manipulated the 2020 elections to lose. Like maybe he won, but he's like, no, just let me lose because I want to be president for the 250. Like I want to be the guy here for the 250th American, to celebrate the 250. I want to put my name on the dollar, the money. I want my face on gold coins. I want it all. I can see that being sort of a play. It just so happens.
It certainly gives it more like historical oomph,
weight. Yeah, significance for sure. So there you go. I mean, that's just a quick little money update there. But yeah, it's so funny how we talk about the hypnotic, esoteric effects of Trump's signature. And here we are. It's going to be on every single paper dollar printed from here on out. So congratulations to all Americans in their petrodollar. I guess we got a couple stories left, but this one,
one's kind of related to the dollar, actually, considering
it kind of is
esotericism of the dollar bill.
Yeah, the esoteric stuff, the beast system.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This is coming from The Guardian, and it broke this morning. Murder trial opens for alleged Masonic Lodge crime network in Paris. Subheadline: 22 defendants, including intelligence agents and police, accused of committing crimes on behalf of Freemason Mafia. They're finally getting exposed, Basil. The Freemasons are going down. Or so they want us to think. 22 people have gone on trial in France on charges of murder and other serious crimes centered on a Masonic lodge accused of running hit squads. 13 defendants, including former intelligence agents, soldiers, and businessmen, face possible life sentences. Prosecutors allege the group carried out murder, attempted murder, aggravated assault, and criminal conspiracy on behalf of a mafia network inside the Athenor Lodge in the Paris suburb of Puteaux. Is that how you say that? Puteaux. At least 4 Freemasons from the lodge's roughly 20 members. 20 members? There's only 20 members in the lodge, huh? Are among those in the dock. Other defendants include 4 officers from France's DGSE Foreign Intelligence Service, 3 police officers, 6 executives, a security guard, a doctor, and an engineer. Man, I feel bad for that security guard. He probably thought, man, I got in with the big boys. Look at that. I'm in with the Freemasons and the intelligence ops and the doctors and the engineers. And then now he's going to trial. He might go to life in prison. Most of the accused, whose ages range from 30 to 73, have no previous criminal record. Yeah, because they've been assisted by the system. The alleged ringleaders are Jean-Luc Bigard, Frédéric Vaglio, and Daniel Beaulieu. I don't know how to say that. Beaulieu. All members of the lodge, alongside Beaulieu's right-hand man, Sebastian Leroy, accused of carrying out or organizing the violence through a network of hired attackers. All 4 face life imprisonment if convicted. The case was triggered by a failed contract killing in July 2020 when 2 members of France's parachute regime were arrested in possession of weapons near the home of the business coach Marie-Hélène Dini. They told investigators they believed they had been asked to murder Dini on behalf of the French state, targeting Dini on the grounds that she worked for the Israeli spy agency, the Mossad. I find that interesting because it's like a precursor. It's like the underbelly, a microcosm of what's happening now, this anti-Mossad, anti-Zionist Israel and the intelligence agencies there. Although one could argue that, this sort of thing has been going on for a long time. The Freemasons are so righteous that they're going to take out some Mossad agents. Interesting. Investigators discovered a link to Bagour, 69, a business coach rival of Dini's and the lodge's venerable master. Investigators say Bagour asked the fellow Freemason Vaglio to arrange to have his rival, quote unquote, eliminated for a fee of about $80,000. Vaglio, a 53-year-old entrepreneur, allegedly acted as the intermediary between the alleged ringleader and a hit squad led by Beaulieu, a retired officer of the Domestic Intelligence Services. Leroy, the alleged leader of the hit squad, admitted it in police custody that he and his associates carried out most of the Athenor Mafia's assaults, robberies, and killings, including the murder of a racing driver. Over time, the crimes ordered by the Freemason Mafia escalated from petty revenge attacks to homicide. In one alleged case of industrial espionage, Leroy's gang is said to have assaulted a businesswoman in the street and stolen her computer. In 2019, the car of one of Bagour's associates was set alight after she uncovered evidence of financial fraud within his company. So I think it's interesting because we had the story a few months ago of the Freemasons in the UK being called out if they're part of the police force. And there was some, celebration, or at least people saying, hey, at least we got some attention to the Freemasons and this good old boys club that's in every part of society. But I find that this story, a lot of people are celebrating like, hey, down with the Masonic order and they're finally getting exposed and all this kind of stuff. And the reality is this is not going to end the Freemasons. This is not going to end the secret societies or the group of individuals who quietly run things in the background. It's not going to end any of it. However, if you are going to try to win back trust from the public, especially at this time when governments, the trust for government is at an all-time low all across the world, and the World Economic Forum for 3 years has been talking about how do we regain trust? Oh, let's lean into the podcasters. Let's bring the CIA podcasters out there. Let's let the investigative reporters, the independent investigative reporters, to lead the charge for exposing corruption in America, with the mainstream media following suit. And now we have the Masonic Lodge going to trial for committing crimes. Two things crossed my mind. One, again, I think this is a microcosm of what's really going on out there in terms of these secret societies and the elite controlling and influencing things from the background quietly. And, you know, so this happening at this petty level in France, or Paris, I guess, is sort of a, I don't know, it's a little microcosm, but then also exposing it is, it's, to me, it's much like the big pharma companies paying a $1 billion or $2 billion fine for a product that allegedly killed people or whatever it is, after they already made $500 billion from it. So it becomes basically cost of doing business. Hey, you want to do this big business, big pharma thing? You got to pay a couple billion in fines and all this kind of stuff, a little slap on the wrist for, you know, hurting people and getting them hooked on drugs or killing them or whatever. A little thing there. So you just throw some people under the bus. Maybe not your top guys, but, you know, the security guard who got dragged into the network and whatnot, to make it seem like crime is getting cleaned up. So that was my first thought. My second thought on this was, how many people in the courtroom, or maybe, you know, I don't know how the Paris courts work, but I'm going to guess and say that there are people in secret societies, maybe not the Freemasons, but somebody in a secret society residing over this case, whether it's a judge or a lawyer or somebody is also part of the lodge, and they're kind of looking at it going, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. You guys just got caught up in we're throwing you under the bus, but trust me, it's for the greater good of civilization, you know? So anyway, any thoughts on the Freemasons going to jail, or at least going to trial over these?
No, it'll be interesting to see. Going to trial is one thing, going to jail is a totally other thing.
Yeah, well, you know, they might get quote unquote unalived, you know, at some point, just so they can retire on an island somewhere. So there you go. Okay. That's my little take on the Freemasons. Did you want to do this Flippy update? We can land it there.
I think we got to save it. You need to get out of here. We're already past your out, so we can save the Flippy update. It's no reason to squeeze it in. It's all good. Okay. We always got fun robot stuff. We'll be doing it on Wednesday. And a big old shout out to our producers. Thank you guys for making this show happen. We got a couple of producers who came in under the executive producer amount. I want to thank real quick. And remember, if you get any value from the show whatsoever, and that's includes the community, the chat, the fellowship, the show, the entertainment, the education, whatever it is, you can go to canarycry.support. And support the show in whatever amount makes sense to you. We actually only had one producer come in under the executive producer amount this last week here. And this was a demooching. So a big demooching to producer Kimberly C.
Kimberly C., you are officially going to be demooched.
That's right. That's puts Kimberly C in the running to get a free quarter of the supply drop thanks to the TOEF challenge. We got a lot of supply droppers and T-shirt council members coming in, supporting the show, making supply drop, I guess, availability to demoochers, but not a ton of demoochers. So Kimberly C's got a pretty good chance of getting a free supply drop. And if there's anybody out there, you've never supported the show ever before, you can come in, support us with your time, your talent, your treasure, and you will be eligible to be the beneficiary of the TOEF challenge and get a free quarter of the supply drop. So now's a great time to support the show if you've never done it before.
Awesome.
We got a number of people who came in under the executive producer amount, and I would like to thank them now. They're usually coming in under $7.77 for to keep their streaks going usually. So we want to thank them right now. I'll start with Veronica D, who is on a 565 episode streak.
Veronica D. Wow, these streakers.
D. Sir Scott Knight of Truth is on a 610 episode streak.
Sir Scott, thank you.
And we've got the Canary Cry world record holder for longest streak, Sir Casey the Shield Knight. On a
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
615 episodes in a row. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Sir Scott.
And of course, we got producers come in, support the show with their time, such as, for instance, the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Yes. Last episode, Morgan E. did the timestamps. Thank you, Morgan E. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Basil, real quick, we do have art from IAnon.
Oh, great. Yeah.
You want
great,
to just
great, yeah.
share that real quick?
Yeah,
'Cause I
let's
think
do
it's
that.
appropriate for right now, the episode today.
Ianon comes in. She went over to canarycry.art, uploaded this art. We've got a 4-panel comic strip here. The first cell here has Donald Trump. He is playing the role of a magician. He's got the Earth, the globe, on top of a table, and he's waving a handkerchief in front of it that says Epstein Files. And the cell says, when a magician says, look over here, and a speech bubble from Trump says, and for my next magic trick, the next cell, Trump is waving a magic wand with a UFO over it, over the Epstein Files handkerchief that is over the globe. Says, it is called misdirection. And Trump says, sprinkle some alien dust. The real trick is happening somewhere else. And Trump says, and voila, pulls up the handkerchief. And you can see on the side of the globe there, probably the Middle East, you've got explosions and smoke coming up. And the last cell is Trump.
Whoa. You missed a detail on this third cell, which is from the left hand of Trump. He's just let go. He's about to press a button, or he just pressed the button. It says big red button. So there you go. That's
He
a
was
little
so
detail.
good at, so good at being a magician. I didn't even notice
You
his
didn't even
left
see it.
hand.
Yeah.
Busy with the right hand. And the next cell, he's Trump's waving his hands over his head and going, magic. And there's a speech bubble coming from off screen. It says, how did you do it, Mr. President? Yeah. The Epstein file, again, when it comes to aliens, it comes to Epstein Files, comes to everything going on in the world. People are, it's really interesting because you can be as aware as ever that there is some sort of misdirection going on. But it is often hard to tell which is misdirecting from which. And I think that's a very effective part of the PSYOP. Because there's lots of people out there, of course, who think the Epstein Files is a distraction from Iran. You've got just as many people saying that Iran is a distraction from the Epstein Files.
Yeah.
And a good magic trick, that's exactly how it works. You can't tell which one is the distraction and which one's the actual trick.
Yeah. Very well
Marina
done.
Abramovich would be very proud of Trump and his magic tricks.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Ianon, for that wonderful piece of art. And if anybody else wants to make something for the show, go to canarycry.art. Thank you, Morgan E., for doing the timestampers. Thank you to Jam for heading up the Telegram channel. Hey, thank you to Adam42 for leading the Discord channel. If you are not yet a part of the Canary Cry Telegram channel or Discord channel, there's still time. Go to canarycry.party and you will see on that list of links the invite links to both the Telegram and the Discord channel. Get in there, make some Canary Cry friends, dig in deep with them, fellowship, pray for each other. You got to do it. Thank you to Joe for all your feedback. Thank you to Clank for clicking. And of course, thanks to Sir Ike for everything you do for us. And other than that, folks, share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Stay awake. There's a lot of people choosing to fall back asleep. And perhaps you know someone like that in your life. You should share the show with them. Because if there's anything we're learning around here, that with the strength of the Lord, we can both pay attention and keep our sanity. If you want to know how, here's what you do. You just walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, you got any last words?
Yeah, real quick. Oops, Macron talking about Freemasons. I got to hear this. Oh, is he talking in French?
Probably
Okay,
talking
all right.
French.
Okay, well, hold on. He's shaping the century
Allegedly defending Freemasons.
for the good of humanity. The insignia is undoubtedly the fact that Freemasons has always been the target of conspiracists, obstructionists who attribute to it an influence there, putting the spotlight on one media organization influence claimed the debate on the, what is he saying? Of life wearing an iconic, I don't know what he's saying.
Defending the Freemasons. You've got the president of France coming to defend his buddies, the Freemasons, from their murder charges.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay. All right. That's it. That's all I have.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We'll be back on Wednesday. Make sure to join us. But until then, think outside the cage.
We're all gonna die.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye.
And a resounding pagah flies through the air across the world. Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Rattle their cage. They have a lot of people screaming randomly. Why don't you shout? It'll be their call out. They have a lot of people screaming randomly.
Go ahead and
Why don't you shout?
Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
When the news of the day gets to feeling like a maze, it's okay, don't be afraid if you don't know what to say. Canary, cry away. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on, I head my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry away. Canary, cry away. Oh, canary, cry away. Oh, the world's changing every day, each and every way you turn. There's another thing to learn. Reading in between the lines, thanking Jesus for our lives and lives to see His glory shining like the sun. Run the race until it's done. Come on, everyone. Canary, cry away. Oh, canary, cry away. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on, I have my way. I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry away.
It's value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
You little rascal. I am so hot.
You're so hot.
I'm...
Son of a
God. I am so hot. So hot.
Let's invite some dudes over and fellowship tonight.